Italy is more than just a country. It's a tapestry of flavors, culture, and legendary wines. From the bold reds of Tuscany to the sweet, sparkling gems of Piedmont, each bottle holds centuries of tradition. Today, we take you on a journey through Italy's 10 most fascinating wines. Let's dive into the stories behind each sip. Sometimes the greatest masterpieces are born from accidents. And so it was with Amarone, one of Italy's most iconic wines. A mistake in the winemaking process, a forgotten barrel, and the passing of time created something extraordinary. But what really happened? And how did this mistake become a global legend? Pour yourself a glass and let's uncover the story of Amarone, the wine that defied the rules. Our journey begins in the heart of the Veneto region, in a land known as Valpolicella, a name that means Valley of Many Cellars. This region, rich in history and tradition, has been producing wine since the time of the Romans, and among its treasures, one wine was cherished above all others: Recioto. Recioto was a sweet red wine, made from carefully dried grapes. It was smooth, rich, and beloved by nobility. But what happens when nature, or human error, changes the course of tradition? Legend has it that one winemaker, lost in his work, forgot about a barrel of Recioto. As months passed, the yeast continued fermenting the sugars, slowly transforming the wine into something unexpected. By the time he returned to taste it, the result was shocking. The wine was no longer sweet. It was bold, dry, and incredibly complex. This mistake had created a wine unlike anything before. It had the power of red wines, but with the elegance of long aging. It was given a name that reflected its depth: Amarone, meaning the great bitter one. But what makes Amarone so unique? The secret lies in its production. Unlike most red wines, Amarone is made using a method called appassimento, where grapes are left to dry for months before fermentation. This process concentrates their sugars and flavors, creating an intense and powerful wine. After drying, the grapes are slowly fermented and aged in oak barrels for years. The result? A wine that is bold, velvety, with deep notes of cherry, dark chocolate, and spice. A wine that carries the soul of Valpolicella in every sip. For centuries, Amarone remained a well-kept secret among local winemakers. But in the 1950s, its fame began to spread. Wineries in Valpolicella started producing Amarone intentionally, refining the method that was once a simple mistake. By the 1990s, Amarone had gained international recognition and was granted the prestigious DOCG status, the highest quality classification in Italian wine. Today, Amarone is one of Italy's most sought-after wines, known for its richness, power, and elegance. It stands as a testament to the idea that sometimes mistakes lead to the greatest discoveries. Next time you sip a glass of Amarone, remember, you're tasting history, a wine born from chance, perfected by tradition, and celebrated across the world. Raise your glass to the unexpected, because sometimes the greatest masterpieces are the ones we never plan for. Welcome to the rolling hills of Tuscany, where wine and history flow together like an aged Chianti in a perfect glass. But did you know that behind the Chianti Classico lies a story of rivalry, power, and one very clever black rooster? Let me take you back to the 13th century, a time when Tuscany was not just a region, but a battlefield. Our story begins with a fierce rivalry between the city-states of Florence and Siena. These two powers clashed for centuries, each seeking control over the fertile lands of Chianti. Battles raged, alliances were forged and broken, but the fighting only left devastation. Finally, the two cities decided to settle the dispute in an unusual way: by a race. They agreed that at the crow of a rooster, two knights would ride from their cities. The point where they met would determine the new border. Now here's where the story takes an interesting turn. The Florentines chose a cunning strategy. They selected a black rooster and, unlike the Sienese who pampered their white rooster, they kept theirs hungry and restless. On the morning of the race, the black rooster crowed before sunrise, giving the Florentine knight a significant head start. By the time the Sienese knight began his journey, the Florentine had already covered most of the territory. They met just 12 kilometers from Siena, securing nearly all of Chianti for Florence. And so the black rooster, or gallo nero, became the symbol of Chianti Classico, a mark of pride and cunning ingenuity. But Chianti Classico wasn't always the refined wine we enjoy today. For centuries, it was a rustic blend of red and white grapes, crafted for local consumption. It wasn't until the 19th century that Baron Bettino Ricasoli revolutionized its recipe. Known as the Iron Baron, Ricasoli dedicated his life to improving Chianti. He developed a formula centered on Sangiovese grapes, creating a wine that was bold, balanced, and distinctly Tuscan. His vision transformed Chianti from a local peasant wine into a symbol of Italian excellence. In 1924, to protect its heritage, a group of winemakers formed the Chianti Classico Consortium, adopting the black rooster as its official emblem. Today, Chianti Classico is more than a wine. It's a journey through centuries of tradition, culture, and craftsmanship. Every bottle carries the essence of Tuscany, rolling hills, centuries-old vineyards, and the determination of its people. So next time you pour a glass of Chianti Classico, remember, it's not just wine, it's a story of rivalry, ingenuity, and a very clever rooster. Salute! Barolo, the king of wines. But what if I told you that behind its crown lies a tale of revolution, intrigue, and transformation? This isn't just a wine, it's a symbol of Italian resilience and brilliance. From the misty hills of Piedmont to the halls of royalty, Barolo's story is one of power, tradition, and an unexpected heroine. Let's uncork the mystery and taste history itself. Our journey begins in the picturesque region of Piedmont, northern Italy, where the Langa Hills cradle some of the most fertile soil for winemaking. Here, the Nebbiolo grape reigns supreme, a variety as demanding as it is rewarding. Known for its thick skin and late harvest, Nebbiolo flourishes in the cool climate and foggy mornings that blanket these hills. But Barolo wasn't always the noble wine we know today. In the early 19th century, it was a rustic, sweet wine enjoyed only locally. So what changed? The answer lies with a woman ahead of her time, Giulia Faletti, the Marchesa di Barolo. In the 1830s, this visionary noblewoman brought French winemaking techniques to Piedmont, transforming Barolo from a sweet wine into a dry, structured masterpiece. She partnered with winemakers and even involved French oenologists to refine the process. The result? A wine so bold and elegant that it caught the attention of King Carlo Alberto of Savoy. It wasn't long before Barolo became the royal wine of Italy, earning its title as the King of Wines. Today, Barolo stands as one of the most prestigious wines in the world, protected by strict regulations under the DOCG classification. Each bottle tells a story of craftsmanship, from the meticulous cultivation of Nebbiolo to the years spent aging in oak barrels. But beyond its production, Barolo remains a symbol of Italian pride, innovation, and tradition. And while it's enjoyed by wine lovers worldwide, its roots remain deeply tied to the hills of Piedmont. Barolo is more than just a wine. It's a testament to the passion, resilience, and creativity of those who dare to dream. So next time you raise a glass of Barolo, remember, you're tasting not just a wine, but a legacy crafted over centuries. Cheers to history and to the stories waiting to be discovered in every bottle. A wine shaped by history and an amphora that became a legend. For centuries, Verdicchio has been one of Italy's most distinctive white wines. Yet few know its true story. From the hands of Roman merchants to the tables of Renaissance nobility, this is the journey of Verdicchio, the amphora and the wine. Verdicchio's origins can be traced back to the time of the Romans, who prized it for its freshness and ability to travel well. In those days, wine was stored and transported in amphorae, large clay vessels that kept the wine stable on long journeys across the Mediterranean. It's believed that Verdicchio's high acidity and mineral character made it one of the preferred wines for Roman feasts and military expeditions. While Verdicchio was known in ancient times, it wasn't until the Renaissance that it truly flourished. Nobles and scholars alike appreciated its elegant, crisp profile, often pairing it with fresh seafood and delicate dishes. The wine became a symbol of refinement and prestige, enjoyed in royal courts and Venetian palaces. But its most unique feature was yet to come. In the 1950s, Verdicchio underwent a revolution in branding. Winemakers decided to package the wine in a bottle shaped like an ancient amphora, paying homage to its Roman heritage. The result? An instant icon. Consumers around the world recognized the shape, and Verdicchio became a bestseller among Italian white wines. But Verdicchio isn't just about its shape. Its flavor is just as unique. With notes of green apple, almond, and citrus, and a characteristic minerality from the limestone-rich soils, it's one of the most versatile Italian white wines. It's fresh, structured, and long-lasting, making it ideal for aging, a rare trait among white wines. From Roman amphorae to modern glass, Verdicchio has traveled through time, adapting and thriving. Next time you see its signature bottle, remember, you're holding 2,000 years of history in your hands. Salute. A land of ancient myths, fiery volcanoes, and sun-drenched vineyards, Sicily has always been a place of bold stories, and even bolder wines. Among them, one stands above the rest, Nero d'Avola, the dark prince of Sicilian wines. But this wine was once nearly forgotten, almost lost to history. So how did it rise again to become Sicily's most famous red? Let's uncork the tale of Nero d'Avola, a wine as intense and dramatic as the land it comes from. Sicily has been producing wine for over 2,500 years, influenced by Phoenicians, Greeks, and Romans. These civilizations shaped the island's winemaking traditions, introducing techniques that still exist today. Among the many grape varieties, one stood out: Calabrese, the original name of Nero d'Avola. It thrived in Sicily's harsh, sun-baked landscapes, developing bold flavors and deep, dark colors. The name Nero d'Avola translates to the black grape of Avola, a small town in southeastern Sicily where this grape became legendary. But despite its early fame, Nero d'Avola almost disappeared, and its survival was anything but guaranteed. For centuries, Nero d'Avola was a prized secret of Sicilian winemakers. Its intense color and bold structure made it perfect for blending, giving strength to weaker wines across Italy and even France. But in the late 19th century, disaster struck. The phylloxera epidemic devastated vineyards across Europe, including Sicily. Many winemakers abandoned native grapes like Nero d'Avola in favor of higher-yielding international varieties. By the mid-20th century, Nero d'Avola was on the brink of extinction. For decades, Nero d'Avola was used only for blending, never bottled on its own. But then, in the 1980s, a handful of visionary Sicilian winemakers decided to change everything. In the late 20th century, a wine revolution swept across Sicily. A new generation of winemakers rediscovered the potential of native grapes. They realized that Nero d'Avola wasn't just a blending wine, it could stand proudly on its own. By focusing on quality over quantity, Sicilian wineries began crafting rich, complex, and elegant Nero d'Avola wines. Deep red in color, full-bodied, and bursting with flavors of dark cherries, plums, and Mediterranean spices, this was no ordinary wine. In 2005, Nero d'Avola finally received DOC recognition, cementing its place as Sicily's most important red wine. Today, it is celebrated worldwide, a symbol of Sicily's resilience and passion for winemaking. But what makes Nero d'Avola so unique? It's not just about history, it's about the wine itself. Unlike lighter Sicilian reds, Nero d'Avola is rich, bold, and incredibly food-friendly. Its high tannins and balanced acidity make it perfect for pairing with Sicilian cuisine, from hearty meat dishes to rich pastas. Some versions are powerful and oak-aged, while others are fresher, fruitier, and easy drinking. This is a wine that tells the story of its land, a story of survival, transformation, and triumph. Next time you sip a glass of Nero d'Avola, remember, you're tasting more than just wine. You're tasting history, culture, and the soul of Sicily. This is not just a drink, it's a legacy in a bottle. In the heart of Italy, between rolling hills and ancient villages, there is a wine whispered in poetry and sung by shepherds. A wine that has stood the test of time, surviving wars, conquests, and changing tastes. Montepulciano, not just a name, but a symbol of tradition and resilience. But how did this rustic wine of the people become one of Italy's most beloved reds? Let's uncork its fascinating journey from the shepherds of the past to the glasses of wine lovers around the world. Montepulciano has been intertwined with Italy's history for over 1,000 years. Some say the Etruscans cultivated these vines long before the Romans arrived. In the ancient world, Montepulciano wines were known for their deep flavors, their strength, and their ability to warm even the hardest-working shepherd. Montepulciano was not only enjoyed by farmers and shepherds, it was celebrated in poetry and literature. Even during the Middle Ages, monks and scholars praised its bold character and rustic charm. While the aristocracy enjoyed their fine Barolos and Chiantis, Montepulciano remained the wine of the working class. It was the drink of shepherds, of travelers, of the people who shaped Italy's landscape. Affordable, strong, and full of life, Montepulciano became a staple at every Italian table. For centuries, it was crafted using simple but effective techniques, producing a full-bodied, rich wine that could be enjoyed daily. But Montepulciano's fate was about to change, because the world was finally ready to appreciate its beauty. In the 20th century, Montepulciano underwent a transformation. Winemakers refined their techniques, aging the wine in oak barrels, perfecting the balance between fruitiness and depth. It was no longer just a humble drink. It was a contender among Italy's finest reds. By the 1960s, Montepulciano had gained DOC recognition and later the prestigious DOCG status. From a shepherd's wine to an internationally acclaimed label, its journey was complete. But what makes Montepulciano unique? Its rich, velvety tannins, deep flavors of dark berries, plums, and spices, and a structure that pairs beautifully with rustic Italian cuisine. Some versions are bold in age, while others are fresh, easy drinking, and fruit-forward. No matter the style, Montepulciano carries the essence of Italy in every sip. Next time you sip Montepulciano, remember, you are tasting history. A wine born in the fields, shaped by time, and perfected for the world to enjoy. Raise your glass to the shepherds and poets of the past, because their wine is still with us today. Crisp, light, and irresistibly bubbly, Prosecco is more than just a sparkling wine, it's a celebration in a glass. But did you know that this beloved Italian fizz almost never made it to the global stage? From ancient traditions to modern-day luxury, this is the fascinating journey of Prosecco, Italy's sparkling star. The story of Prosecco dates back over 2,000 years to the time of the Romans. The region of Venetia was already known for its wines, but it was the Glera grape that would one day give birth to Prosecco. Legend has it that Empress Livia, wife of Emperor Augustus, drank a sparkling wine from northern Italy, believing it held the secret to long life. Could this have been the early version of Prosecco? For centuries, Venetian winemakers experimented with different fermentation techniques, trying to perfect the balance of bubbles and flavor. But it wasn't until the 19th century that Prosecco, as we know it today, was born. Thanks to the invention of the Charmat method, which allowed for controlled secondary fermentation in large stainless steel tanks, Prosecco became lighter, fresher, and more affordable than traditional champagne. For years, champagne reigned as the king of sparkling wines. But in the early 2000s, something changed. The world fell in love with Prosecco's fruit-forward, easy-drinking style, and suddenly sales skyrocketed. Today, Prosecco outsells champagne worldwide, becoming the most consumed sparkling wine on the planet. But what makes Prosecco unique? It's not just the bubbles, it's the terroir of the Veneto and Friuli regions, the gentle hills, the cool climate, and the delicate flavors of green apple, pear, and white flowers. Unlike champagne, which undergoes fermentation in individual bottles, Prosecco is made using the Charmat method, which preserves its fresh, fruity essence. This is what gives it its signature lightness and drinkability. Next time you raise a glass of Prosecco, remember, you're not just drinking a sparkling wine. You're tasting centuries of tradition, innovation, and the joyful spirit of Italy itself. Salute. A bottle pops, golden bubbles rise, a toast is made, but this isn't champagne. This is Franciacorta, Italy's answer to France's most famous sparkling wine. For decades, Franciacorta has been an underdog in the world of fine sparkling wines. Yet it follows the same traditional method as champagne. So why isn't it as famous? And could it actually be better? Let's uncork the truth behind Franciacorta, Italy's champagne rival. Long before champagne became a luxury, the lands of Lombardy were already producing wine. The name Franciacorta itself dates back to the Middle Ages, referring to a tax-free trading zone established by Charlemagne. But it wasn't until the 1960s that Franciacorta as we know it today was born, when a visionary winemaker decided to challenge champagne on its own turf. Unlike Prosecco, which is made with the faster Charmat method, Franciacorta follows the Metodo Classico, the same method used in champagne. This means hand-harvested grapes, Chardonnay, Pinot Nero, Pinot Bianco, aging for a minimum of 18 months, often much longer. The complex process of secondary fermentation in the bottle, creating finer, richer bubbles. The result? A sparkling wine with depth, structure, and elegance that many experts say can rival even the finest champagnes. So how does Franciacorta actually compare to champagne? Climate and terroir. Champagne, France. Cooler, chalky soils, higher acidity. Franciacorta, Italy. Warmer, mineral-rich Morenic soils, rounder flavors. Aging requirements. Franciacorta Brut, minimum 18 months. Champagne Brut, minimum 15 months. Taste profile. Champagne, more citrus and brioche notes, sharp acidity. Franciacorta, more floral, almond, and creamy textures. Some sommeliers even claim that Franciacorta's richness makes it a better food pairing wine than champagne. But does it hold up in a blind tasting? Let's see. In a recent blind tasting competition, wine critics unknowingly ranked a Franciacorta bottle higher than a premium champagne. Even though champagne has the prestige, Franciacorta delivers complexity and finesse at a fraction of the price. But why isn't it as famous? Champagne has something Franciacorta doesn't: centuries of branding and marketing dominance. While champagne houses have long associated themselves with royalty, celebrities, and luxury, Franciacorta remains more of an Italian secret. Even in Italy, Prosecco outsells Franciacorta due to its affordability and global recognition. So will Franciacorta ever break into the mainstream? Despite its lower production, Franciacorta is slowly gaining international recognition. More Michelin-starred restaurants are adding it to their wine lists. More wine enthusiasts are discovering its elegance. And with the rise of blind tastings, it's only a matter of time before Franciacorta gets the recognition it deserves. So next time you're looking for a luxurious, refined, sparkling wine, don't just think champagne, think Franciacorta. Franciacorta may not yet have the fame of champagne, but it has something even more valuable: authenticity, craftsmanship, and an undeniable elegance. If you haven't tried Franciacorta yet, maybe it's time to pour a glass and experience the bubbles of Italy. Salute. Imagine this. Deep within the stone walls of a forgotten Italian cellar, a dusty bottle of golden wine is discovered. It's Soave, but not as we know it today. This bottle dates back centuries, to a time when Soave was nothing more than a humble farmer's drink. Yet inside this unassuming glass container lies a story of transformation, one that took Soave from a simple peasant's refreshment to a symbol of sophistication and elegance on tables around the world. How did this happen? How did a wine once overlooked by nobles become a staple of refined Italian dining? Let's uncover the untold journey of Soave Classico. Centuries ago in the rolling hills of Veneto, Italy, Soave was a wine of the people. Farmers and workers would sip this crisp, golden liquid after long days in the vineyards. It wasn't made for grandeur, it was made for sustenance. A simple, honest wine that quenched thirst and brought comfort. But what made Soave unique was its birthplace, the volcanic hills of Veneto. The mineral-rich soil gave the Garganega grapes a distinct, refreshing character. Yet despite its promising qualities, Soave remained largely unknown outside the region. Fast forward to the Renaissance, and something changed. As Venice flourished as a hub of trade and culture, Soave found itself on the tables of the wealthy. Merchants, nobles, and scholars began to appreciate its crispness, its delicate floral notes, and its ability to pair beautifully with fine cuisine. By the 18th century, Soave had earned a reputation beyond Italy. Exported to Austria, France, and even England, it became a wine of distinction. No longer just a farmer's refreshment, it was now a symbol of sophistication. But like many great things, Soave faced a crisis. In the 20th century, mass production became the priority. Vineyards expanded rapidly, and quality took a backseat to quantity. Soave, once a refined and highly sought-after wine, became diluted. Its reputation faded. Supermarkets were flooded with cheap, uninspired Soave, and wine connoisseurs turned their attention elsewhere. For decades, Soave struggled to reclaim its former glory. But then, something incredible happened. A new generation of winemakers refused to let Soave be forgotten. They returned to the roots, the volcanic soils, the hand-harvested Garganega grapes, the meticulous aging process. They focused on quality, bringing back the elegance that had once defined this wine. Wineries in the Soave Classico region began producing small-batch, artisanal wines. These wines, with their rich minerality, balanced acidity, and floral complexity, started winning awards worldwide. Critics took notice. Sommeliers reintroduced Soave into Michelin-starred restaurants. The wine that had been dismissed as ordinary was now celebrated as extraordinary. Today, Soave Classico is more than just a wine, it's a story of resilience, a testament to how tradition, craftsmanship, and passion can restore greatness. Whether enjoyed in a Venetian cafe or at a high-end wine tasting, Soave now stands as a refined, world-class wine. So next time you pour a glass of Soave, remember its journey. From the humble tables of farmers to the gilded halls of nobility, from overproduction to perfection. What's your experience with Soave? Have you ever tasted an older vintage or a modern Soave Classico? Let us know in the comments. And if you love exploring wine history, don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories from the world of wine. Imagine a wine so exquisite that kings and popes alike demanded it on their tables. A wine that centuries later still enchants with its golden bubbles and delicate sweetness. This is the story of Moscato d'Asti, the sweet wine of the kings. Our journey begins in the rolling hills of Piedmont, Italy, where the Moscato grape has thrived for over 1,000 years. The Romans adored its floral aromas and delicate sweetness. Even Pliny the Elder, the famous Roman scholar, praised the Muscat grape for its unique fragrance. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, and Moscato d'Asti had already made its way into the courts of noble families. It wasn't just a drink, it was a symbol of luxury, reserved for the most powerful rulers of the time. By the 17th century, Moscato d'Asti had become a favorite at the royal court of Savoy. Duke Charles Emmanuel I of Savoy was known to serve it at grand banquets, impressing visiting dignitaries with its golden sparkle and refined sweetness. Even the papacy took notice. Legend has it that Pope Pius VII was particularly fond of Moscato d'Asti, declaring it a divine creation fit for the Vatican's most sacred occasions. Unlike most sparkling wines, Moscato d'Asti follows a unique production process. The grapes are gently pressed and fermented at a low temperature, preserving their natural sweetness and aromatic intensity. The result? A wine with a delicate fizz, bursting with notes of peach, apricot, and orange blossom. A sensory experience unlike any other. By the 20th century, Moscato d'Asti faced a challenge. As industrialization took over, the wine started being mass-produced, leading to a decline in quality and reputation. Once the drink of kings, it was now seen as just another sweet wine. But winemakers in Piedmont refused to let its legacy fade. Through strict regulations and renewed passion, Moscato d'Asti reclaimed its status as a premium wine, earning its DOCG certification in 1993. Today, Moscato d'Asti is enjoyed all over the world. It's the perfect celebration wine, ideal for pairing with desserts or simply enjoying on a warm summer evening. From the royal courts of Savoy to your glass, this is the legacy of Moscato d'Asti, the sweet wine of the kings. What's your favorite way to enjoy Moscato d'Asti? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible wine stories.